Hey everyone, how's everyone doing this new year? I decided to do one more Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live before the end of the year. Happy New Year to all. Thanks Michael Cohen. He said he loves that boogie bass line in that song. That was my band recording that we did live. He's a member of the LAPCUG. And Michael Wright says, Happy New Year. Everybody's hoping that it's going to be a good year, right? Yeah, 2021. That's what we all hoping. 2021 is going to be a good year. Here's the backyard bird cam, bird feeder cam. It's kind of, I'm not sure, it's kind of cool out. What's the temperature? Let me see what the temperature is. 46 degrees. That's not too bad for being in... It's not too bad for being on the East Coast in January, for sure. Hi, Richard. Happy New Year from the UK. Thank you very much. Cohan. That's the pronunciation. Cohan. Make a longer A. There's our friend, Yari Yininen. Yari, we got to get you on the show one of these times. Happy Better New Year all. Torgrim Grimstad, only 6 hours from 21 here in Oslo. Man Cave, Happy New Year. 55 here in LA. 55, that's pretty good. But it's not that much difference, is it? We don't have any wind, so it feels like 46. Yes. So what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about the year in review, and we're going to talk about the year up ahead. Happy New Year forthcoming from Nick in the UK. Very good. So, as you all know, I've got a new gizmo here. This is my new Stream Deck. I got the biggest one they have, the XL version. And this, of course, is my U audio interface that I really like. Everybody sometimes asks me about it, and I tell them I like it a lot. It's my favorite interface by far. Here's my coffee. What's left of it, anyway. I drink strong coffee. It's very, very strong. It's like double shot, triple shot of espresso. Michael says, did you see my earlier post about uke group video? Uke group video. Ukulele, I mean? Yes, I wasn't sure what that was. Happy New Year from India. Thank you for tuning in there. So, Luke, we're going to go over a timeline, just basically. I mean, it's nothing that specific, but we're going to go over a timeline. There's not really a whole lot to discuss for the most part of the year, right? We didn't get any activity in 2020 until August. January, February, March, all that, nothing, zero. Didn't hear from the Final Cut Pro team. Nothing. As a matter of fact, let's go over that a little bit real quick. So here we are, last October, 10/4/7. 10/4/7. A little over a year ago, we got 10/4/7. Then we got in December the 10th, we got 10/4/8. right? 1048 on December the 10th, over a year ago. We got nothing in January, February, March, April, May, June, July. At the very end of August, we got 1049. Very end, we got 1049. Now, 1049 was a very, very cool feature update. It was unexpected, to be honest with you. It was unexpected by people that are not on the beta team. And it had the whole proxy reworking happening. One of the things I said when that came out is I said, wow, that's a pretty big update. And I said, seems like it should have been in 10.5. Let me get this out of here. It seems like it should have been in 10.5. Well, it didn't come out in 10.5. It came out in 10.49, August 25th, 2020. So for all those months at the beginning of the year, 6 months, and now I understand the pandemic is out. However, when you use that for an excuse, the Logic team released 10.5 in the middle of May. So Logic team released 10.5 in the middle of May, and that was also in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, at the very start, when people didn't know what was going on. So the Logic team put out 10.5, nothing from the Final Cut Pro team, which is, it's okay. We'll talk about it. Michael says he made a video of his ukulele group using Final Cut. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So send that link to me and I won't post it on here, but I'll look at it. I have to leave for my he has to leave for his ukulele group Zoom sessions. Gotcha. You can't miss Zoom sessions for ukulele, that's for sure. That is something you cannot do. Backyard cam, those Christmas lights you can see on the left-hand side. I can actually move around that camera. I'm actually using an app. I can zoom in, zoom out. So, oops, there we go. Let me zoom back out again. Keep that going. And that's our indoor Christmas lights. This is a big, big picture window we have. When I remodeled the kitchen, I redid the picture windows from scratch, actually. I just framed it up from scratch. So, what else do we have here? Oh, I know what we have. We have some, let's do a couple of reviews of the year. So we had in December, January, nothing. January was nothing. Let me see here. We didn't have a whole lot until, well, I had some fun. I had some fun this year. This is my quadcopter. It shoots 4K video. I love this thing. I just send it straight up above my property and take pictures of different things. Here's our garden in our backyard. This is more of the backyard. You can see this is a similar view to my live bird cam, except it's a little closer in, of course. So that was happening this year. I played with my it's a quadcopter. It's got 5 blades. So I have to check one thing. Okay, that's not happening. Okay. So Torgrim says, this is interesting. Maybe if you all donated 10% of our income to the Final Cut Pro team, we could see grandiose 10.6 in 2021 with all our wishes come true. Torgrim, we're going to see a feature update to Final Cut Pro in 2021. They have been doing things. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. They've been doing things, and it's got to happen in 2021. Now, everybody was looking for 10.5, not realizing that the marketing team said, we're going to use 10.5 to launch the Apple Silicon Mac version of Final Cut. So that left the millions of Intel users was like scratching our heads. What is 10.5? It's got this many updates. It's got this many tiny little things. Tiny. Not much there compared to other full point updates. That's what we're comparing it to because that's what the Final Cut Pro team did for the last 9 years. Michael Wright says, sounds like a swarm of murder hornets. It most certainly does. Most certainly does. So let's pull that up one more time. Here we go. This is, it does sound like, now this was filmed with my iPhone, but that's exactly what it sounds like. Now it's got 5 blades, and those 5 blades, one of them can go out, and it would still fly. That's the reason for the 5 blades. That's the reason for the 5 blades. That's a Typhoon H, and it shoots 4K. I bought that 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. It was my first drone, and I bought it because it has a separate controller panel, like a little iPad. You don't have to use your iPhone or your iPad to control it. That's one of the reasons. The 4K video was absolutely, positively something that I wanted. I've shot 4K since the iPhone 6S Plus came out, which is actually right there. My iPhone 6S Plus is the camera that's right above us shooting down on the desk. That's the end of the coffee for today. That's my second cup. Usually, I have 2 cups in the morning, one when I first get up, one a little bit later, and then one in the afternoon. Sometimes I do 3 cups, but we'll see. This version, today's version, just had 2 cups so far. So what else have we got here? Let's go over a couple more videos related to Final Cut. So one of the things that we were looking for this year was a return, how they were going to do the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. This is a picture of the Juniper Hotel lobby that we normally went to. Now, how can I put a, let me see if I can put this on there. Yeah, there we go. I can do this. Change that to, no, change that to round. There we go. So this is the Juniper Hotel lobby that normal in a normal year, which 2020 was not a normal year, normally we would be there in November for the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. This was, I think this was last year. It might have been the year before. I don't remember which. I think it was the year before. I think this was 2018. Look who showed up. Huh? John Cleese. Now, he was not there for the Creative Summit. He just happened to be in the Juniper Hotel. I think he was doing a play or something or speaking somewhere. So he showed up. So around the same time in June, we had, let me see if I have this. I was saying during these live presentations, I was saying, as a matter of fact, this is right here. Let's listen to this. This is what I was saying. They've just shown this. Global Virtual Summit in association with Apple. This is all they've said. My speculation is that it's going to be the normal virtual presentations that they have. Great presenters, virtually in a Zoom or whatever the heck they got these days. And there's going to be virtual presentations, 2 or 3 days worth. You're going to pay whatever the fee is. You attend the sessions. You can probably get a copy or watch the ones that you miss later on in the year. I'm interested to see if Apple presents. That's what I'm most interested in. If Apple presents, so I questioned that right as soon as they announced they were having a virtual one publicly. I knew about it ahead of time, but I couldn't talk about it until they announced it publicly. I said, is Apple going to present? And that's what I'd be interested in the mostly. I mean, obviously everything else was good as well. All the presentations were fantastic. Jeff Greenberg did a great job organizing things. Apple did present. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what they presented. But let's do a couple more videos here. Let's see. So I had Patrick Southern's been a little busy this year, but I had Patrick on one of these in the fall, late summer in the fall. This is probably my 170th live stream. It's right around 170. And one of the very first ones that I did, you were on.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, it was Facebook Live when you guys came up to my hotel room. It was you, Bill Davis, and
oh my God,
that was Brad. This is the very first
Final
one.
Cut Pro was updated to 10.3. They had a very soft announcement at the Apple event, if you saw that. They were demoing the MacBook Pro, and they just casually mentioned, here's the new version of Final Cut Pro. We got some company here. Patrick Southern, this is Brad Olson, and Bill Davis.
Hi, everybody. There's probably me.
Somebody's knocking on the door. I thought it might have been my neighbor.
So that was the very first one. This one we're on right now is probably about 185. I'll reach 200 live streams in early 2021. Now, these live streams in that count are just dedicated to Final Cut Pro. They're not. I have more live streams than that, but these are dedicated. These are the Final Cut Pro live streams. So, what do you think about 2020? Let's continue on with 2020. What do you think about 2020 so far? I mean, year 2020 in relation to Final Cut Pro. Obviously, the pandemic affected everybody. Everybody's Zoom calling, and they're doing virtual this and virtual that. I realize that all changed. But as far as Final Cut Pro, which is what we're going to talk about today, continue to talk about, what do you all think about it? I have my opinions, of course. I have, there's been some good things, and there's been some things that are kind of like, you scratch your head and say, why did that happen? Let me see what I got here. Okay, what do I have here for graphics? I'm not sure why I put the graphics one up. Let me go back to video. So that was our good friend Patrick. And then, of course, we had our friend Ian Anderson, who came out with the book this year. He came out with the book in like October, November. I think it was maybe November. So let's just quickly talk about this great book from my friend Ian Anderson. All right. So Ian Anderson has been on the show multiple times. This is his book, Final Cut Pro 10. He is rewriting it and getting rid of that. So it'll just say Final Cut Pro Efficient Editing. This version that I have, his physical book, is 10.4.10. So 10.5 didn't really change that much. He is doing a version for 10.5. What you can't really tell by this, though, look at this thing. Look how thick this book, physical book is. This is not a toy. That is indeed not a toy. That book is incredible. I mean, it's really a lot of information in there. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of Final Cut Pro books out, right? They kind of, Apple themselves have stopped publishing so far Final Cut Pro books. They used to do an official course and stuff. I was a Final Cut Pro trainer, and I used to teach classes for Future Media Concepts. Let me just turn one thing on. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh, it's asking for an email and password. I don't have that. The heck with it. Good morning, Richard from Los Angeles. Ernest White says, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Rob Fisher says, it's sad that 10.5 had not that many features in that were expected. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Rob. Isn't your drone a hexacopter? It looks exactly like it has 6 blades. It's not a quad. What did I say? It has 5 blades. So what would you call that? I did call it a quadcopter. It's not a quadcopter. What do you say 5? I forget. Jeff says, Happy New Year's Eve, Richard. Happy New Year's Eve, Jeff, to you. So does this mean we have to wait for new stuff in Final Cut Pro until 10.5.12? No. Jeff says, I think I can become a bodybuilder with that book, with Ian's book. There you go. So listen, let's just say I know some things. Okay? Let's just say that I know some things. And actually, you know what? The phone's ringing. Hello. Yes, this is Richard. We are live on the air. Yeah, I won't say anything. Go right ahead. We are getting an update to Final Cut Pro in 2021. The first half, I can say that, but you can't say that officially. Okay. We're getting an update to Final Cut Pro in the first half. And it's going to be called, it is going to be called that? I can say that, but I can't say it's from you officially. Okay. It's going to be called 10.6, not 10.5. Really? And the features, finally, you get some stuff from the audio. I can't say what it is, but I can say it's audio improvements in Final Cut. That, fantastic news. I won't say who you are. That's okay. I won't say who you are. But Final Cut Pro update in the first half of 2021, and it's going to be called 10.6. Not 10.5.2. Oh, that's not decided yet for certain. It could be called 10.5 too. It depends on how many features are in it. Okay, good to know. But 10.6 is a possibility. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. All right, as usual, thanks for calling in. Final Cut Pro TV Live, and we'll talk to you next year. Happy New Year to you and the Final Cut Pro team. Okay? Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. So Jeff, my sound cut out. Did it really cut out? That would be because of somebody messing with the internet, I guess. Shouldn't have cut out. Your sound cut out. Do you know if there's a second shooter on the grassy knoll? Well, you know what? One of the biggest, I can't say it's a pleasure, but one of the most interesting things that happened to me when I was down at the National Archives in 2013, was it? Was it 2013? I think it was. Yeah. I got to film all the Kennedy assassination memorabilia. They had it in College Park, Maryland. It's under tight security, but they took it out. They take it out every so often just to categorize it and catalog it, make sure, see what's going on. And I was in the same room with Oswald's rifle and the magic bullet and the .38 caliber that he shot Officer Tippett with. And his sweater that he wore when he was captured, the sweater that he wore when he was shot, his wallet, the Zapruder film. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I never thought that would happen, in my lifetime when I was a kid, for sure. Final Cut Pro, TV Live, Backyard HQ Cam. It's interesting when the birds come around. They haven't been around today, but usually they're hanging around, and we got bluebirds and all kind of birds hanging around. Typically, there's one right there. There we go. There's some bluebirds. They're not bright blue in the wintertime. They're more dull. Here we go. Some of them are bird feeders. Some of them are ground feeders. So Jeff says, I'm very jealous. It's on my bucket list. What is on your bucket list? Jeff, are you talking about the Kennedy memorabilia? It's not open to the public. You cannot see that. I worked there, and I was a post supervisor, and I took the crew in there to film everything, but you can't, it's not on display. It's under lock and key. The Final Cut Pro team has New Year's Eve after sending this information. There you go. So, here's what's going on. This is you're watching me on Final Cut Pro TV Live. This is what's going on. There was a discussion in the team what to name this last update. The marketing team won, and the marketing team said we're going to name it 10.5. Other members said you should not name it 10.5, you should name it 10.4.11. That discussion took place. So the Final Cut Pro team, some of the members did not want to call it 10.5. The marketing team called it 10.5. Okay. Logic 10.5 came out in May of last year. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, they put out Logic 10.5. 30 days later, they put out 10.5.1, a bug fix. 5 months after that, they put out Logic 10.6. So from 10.5 to 10.6 took 6 months. This is exactly the same timeline we're going to see with Final Cut Pro. We're going to see Final Cut Pro 10.6 come out. That is going to be the feature update that we were expecting for 10.5. These are just names. These are just names. We were expecting a big feature update, some of us, for 10.5. I'm not talking about people that are on the beta team and knew what was going on or whatever they did. I'm talking about just the general millions, 3 million, 4 million Final Cut Pro editors out there. The Final Cut Pro team for 9 years gave us major features on a full point update. They didn't do that with 10.5. So some people were disappointed. I mean, I was curious what the heck they were doing. Because don't be pulling our legs. That's ridiculous. You've done that enough in the past. So I know what I was going to show you. What am I doing? Here we go. Let me do good. Let me go back to the graphics. Here's the graphics. Now listen, this doesn't really mean anything. Oh, one of the things we did, this year, we had the monolith over in Utah. Brad Olson put that there. I'm sure he did. He was the one behind the monolith, right? Yes, he was. Digital Services, Happy New Year from the UK. Happy New Year to you as well. One of the things that happened this year, I posted it about a month ago. Apple Tech Note TN203457, working with Premiere. If you are forced to work with Premiere, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds before editing with Final Cut Pro. If Premiere crashes, wait for a minimum of 24 hours before editing with Final Cut Pro. Then on the bottom there, report this abuse to Human Resources, yes or no. You can decide whether or not you're going to do that. Maybe it's Kubrick teasing a 2021 release. Yes, very well could be. So here's one of the things that has happened in the last, it's right before Christmas. I bought DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio license with the Speed Editor card, activation card. Now, this does not mean I'm switching from Final Cut Pro. However, this does mean that I like Resolve enough to start learning how to edit with it. And if I don't expect this, but if the update to Final Cut Pro, the feature update we're expecting, if it is, let's say, disappointing, I'm just going to start using DaVinci Resolve more and Final Cut Pro less. I can use both, and I intend to use both. So far, what I've seen with DaVinci Resolve, I really, really like. I really like it. Yes, it doesn't have some of the things that Final Cut Pro has. The biggest things are the magnetic timeline and the live skimmer. That's one of the biggest things. It has a kind of a live skimmer in some of the windows, but doesn't have the live skimmer. But there's plenty of things that Final Cut doesn't have that DaVinci Resolve does have. Just simple things like the ability to color code clips. Right-click on them, choose a color, and it shows up in the timeline. It also has an overview timeline and a scrolling timeline. You can have the main overview on top in the Speed Editor and then a scrolling timeline at the bottom. This is Resolve's scrolling timeline. This is only available in the Speed Editor. That's curious, and I was wondering why it's not in the main. This is the cut page. I'm sorry, the cut page. Now, what I like about this is this is a single clip. You select one clip at a time, but above that is the entire timeline. You really can't see it on that graphic, but so it has two timelines. The timeline on the bottom is the clip that you selected, just the clip, and it's zoomed in and it scrolls. Above that is your entire timeline. So you have an entire view of the entire timeline, and below that you have the one clip that you're selected. That's called the cut page. I like that. I wish Final Cut Pro had that. Let me tell you who else has that. Logic Pro has that. So does LumaFusion also has that same scenario. Soundtrack Pro used to have that. A lot of pro editing applications have that ability. So you want a main timeline above, the entire timeline. It's like the toolbar, the touch toolbar on the MacBook Pro. The entire timeline, and then below that is like a section that you're working on. So you can zoom anywhere, and you can touch the timeline and stuff. I really like that dual timeline. So yes, it doesn't have a magnetic timeline, but it has a dual timeline. I like that. So there's features back and forth that I wish one had that the other doesn't have. So let's go back to this graphic. So I bought the DaVinci. I was going back and forth, but I figure with the speed editor thrown in, it's a bargain. $295, and they have not charged for updates like Final Cut Pro so far. So Studio 17 is not even available yet. So I haven't gotten it yet, but they'll get the speed editor and the DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio when it's available, $300. Once again, it doesn't mean I'm switching. I can do 2 NLEs at the same time, not a problem. Eric says, most projects I work on need Resolve for finishing. Absolutely. So besides the editing, you have the color corrector, right? I had to cough. That's why I switched scenes there. Jeff says, I agree with you. Resolve has taken some of the things from Final Cut Pro and improved them. It seems to be getting better every update. Final Cut Pro needs a huge update. I could not agree more. Jeff. This next version of Final Cut, it better be a big feature update and incorporate nuts and bolts features that most the editors need. Whether you're a Hollywood editor or you're a event videographer that's editing, or you're a YouTuber, nuts and bolts features, okay? It's been over 3 years since we had a full feature update. 10.4 to now is over 36 months, the longest time period ever. And yes, I know all about, yes, it took a lot of work to get Metal 2 incorporated. I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. Metal 2 is like transmission or whatever. That's fine. Give me some other features. Give me some features on top of Metal 2. They've been working on Metal 2 for quite a while. So, look, they've been working on Metal 2 since, when did I see Metal 2? Here we go. October 7th, 2019. New metal-based processing engine improves playback, accelerates graphic tasks, including rendering, blah, 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 blah. October the 7th, 2019. Over a year ago, they've been working on Metal. So I don't use that excuse. I'm not using that as an excuse. I don't accept that as an excuse. They are way behind on keeping up with NLEs like Resolve. I don't know about Premiere. I don't know about Avid. Garrett, our friend, says, hello, everybody. Best wishes for 2021. Absolutely. We're going to be going 2021 in a little less than 11 hours here in the U.S. on the East Coast. Could Final Cut Pro use dual magnetic timelines like some of what you just mentioned? Jason, I don't know why not. Resolve has dual timelines, and they're both scrolling with Logic. Logic, the other Pro app that I use and I really, really like, you can have a timeline above. That's the entire version of what you're working on. And then down below that, in the audio editor, you can just be zoomed into one clip. Both of them can scroll. Both of them have different zoom levels. I don't see why Final Cut can't do the same thing going forward. I'm expecting a big update in 10.6. I'm calling it 10.6. I'm calling it now before anybody else is calling 10.6. I'm saying it's going to be 10.6. It could be 10.5 too. Could be. But if it's a big feature update, listen, Final Cut Pro team, do not piecemeal a few features, and then a few more features, and then a few more features. Give us 10.6 with all the features that you've been working on for years, because you haven't, besides 10.4.9, there hasn't been a whole lot of happening with Final Cut Pro. It's just not. So look at Resolve 17 from 16 to 17 is gigantic innovation and features. I'm not saying, listen, don't sit there and tell me, oh, I'd rather have performance and stability. Of course. Who wouldn't want that? Everybody, performance and stability should always be there. That's a given for any feature update. That's not what I'm talking about. When I buy a car, I expect the transmission to work. I expect it to accelerate when I push down on the gas pedal. Don't tell me that, oh, I need performance and stability. Of course, we all want that. Better performance and stability. But on top of that, features. Features. Give us some of the nuts and bolts features we've been asking for a long time. How can I set myself up to be chosen? When you found out, let me know. I consider Resolve, but I'll wait until it is available. It is available in version 10.7. I think you mean 10 and 17, Resolve 17. I was going back and forth whether I should buy that or not. I mean, $300 is not that expensive. And I figured as I'm working remotely with people, different clients, at some point I might need Resolve for translations and stuff, going back and forth. I said $300 and you get the speed editor. I don't think I'll be using the speed editor that much. We'll see if it becomes handy. I've just started learning Resolve, so I just started. Doesn't mean I'm switching from Final Cut. Not at all. I can use two LEs at the same time. I have how many years? 20 years in Final Cut at this point? I'm not throwing it out. But if the Final Cut Pro team either dribs and drabs a few features out here and a few features out there, if they don't give us a big update in 2021, I'm going to use Resolve more. I'm going to learn it more and more. That's not what I expect. I expect a big feature update in 2021, and I expect it's going to be called Final Cut Pro 10.6, maybe 11. I mean, who the heck knows? They're going to jump somewhere. Or perhaps integrating editing controllers, say like mix boards. Yeah, that would be interesting. They got to do some stuff. Perhaps with iOS devices even. Yeah, using that as like a control surface. Logic has one. Logic's had one for years. They have a Logic control service for a free app where you can have faders up on the screen and control Logic from it. They've had it for years. Final Cut Pro team, nah, we're going to work on Metal. I considered buying Resolve this week. Toman's website says version 17 will be available in early 2021. Then I will get it. Garrett, the difference is, don't know if the speed editor, you're going to get the speed editor with it if you wait. There's no guarantee you'll get the speed editor. One of the reasons I got it was because you get the speed editor for free. Speed editor costs $295. The studio version license costs $295. You get them both for $295. There's no guarantee how long that speed editor is going to be available. That's the reason I went now. Otherwise, I might have waited a little bit longer. The exciting part is the Apple Silicon and what that will enable in all NLEs, but for Final Cut Pro, it should be great. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. However, Eric, we have not seen the Pro versions of those chips yet. We've seen the entry-level versions of those chips. And the entry-level versions of those chips are doing some really fast and incredible performance with Final Cut Pro and other things. I don't know what they do with Resolve, but they're the entry-level chips. I don't buy entry-level Macs. Haven't for a long time. If you do, that's fine. If you like the MacBook Air, that's fine. If you like a 13-inch MacBook Pro, that's fine. I don't like it. Look at this. This is my screen. This is the kind of screen that I am used to working on. I can't squeeze all this into a 13-inch screen. I just can't do it. There's too much. I have too much stuff. Then this is Ecamm Live that I have up there. So this is, a lot of palettes and things. But when I do Final Cut Pro or Logic, I have a nice long timeline extending all the way to the one side or the other. So though I'm focused in the center, I can look left and look right, and I can see what's coming up or whatever on either side from a long distance. One of the reasons that I want color-coded clips like Logic has in Final Cut. I am very much looking forward to the Apple Silicon chip, but I want the Pro version. I want the 16-inch MacBook Pro or, a Mac Mini Pro, another short desktop that has a couple of PCIe slots or something that's not as big as my Mac Pro. What about just a regular Macintosh? The Macintosh disappeared. You have the Mac Mini. You have the Mac Pro. You have the iMac. You have the iMac Pro. Where's the regular Macintosh? So the regular Macintosh would be a desktop model that would sit in between the Mac Mini and the Mac Pro. There's room for it. People would like that. People that don't want to spend, $10,000 or $12,000 on a Mac Pro or more, but might spend $5,000 or $6,000 on a desktop version, a headless. You don't have a screen with it. I would consider that, especially if with the new chips. Whether they're going to call them the M110X or the M2 chips or the M Pro chips, M1 Pros, whatever, they'll be coming out. And the MacBook version, I expect the 16-inch MacBook Pro silicon chip version to be coming out shortly. In 2021. The first half of 2021. That's probably the one that I'll jump on. I don't think I'll go with the Mac Mini or a Mac Mini Pro. First off, I'm not buying a computer I'm not buying a computer with 2 ports. I'm not going to buy a computer with 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. I'm not going to do that. It's got to have at least 4. The other thing for the 16-inch MacBook Pro, for God's sake, Apple, give us a 1080p camera. This 720p camera stuff is complete nonsense for a pro machine. The iMac Pro is the only Mac that has a 1080p camera. Everything else, 720p. I'm shooting right now. I'm shooting in streaming in 1080p. Now, I'm not using a Mac's camera. I have my own camera set up. But when I go to the Creative Summit, sometimes I just stream with my laptop camera, and I want a 1080p camera. Come on, I'm paying a premium price. Give me a camera. This camera, my iPhone 12 Pro Max, has 4 4K cameras. 4 4K cameras. And you stick a lousy 720p camera on a premium MacBook Pro? That's ridiculous. You did the iMac Pro years ago. You switched it to a 1080p camera. Give us a 1080p camera on that MacBook Pro. This is my backyard cam. Live. I don't see any birds. That's interesting. Let me see what's going on over there. You can see I have a brick barbecue and I have firewood over there under the plastic. And then what else is going on? You really can't see anything else. That's my outdoor. I have an outdoor double car garage. It's how much is it? It's a 30 by 40, 1,200 square feet. And it's got 10-foot ceilings in it. There we go. There's a bird. What is that? Some kind of a woodpecker. Little guy. They like that suet. We get that suet for them. Yeah, but anyway, so I bought my license for Resolve 17, and here's the thing: they're not shipping it, I think, until it actually comes out of beta. The way it looks, because the license doesn't. I don't think it works for 16. So I think they're waiting for it to be out of beta before they ship it. I'm guessing. I'm not positive, but it seems like, because it is a 17 license. Let me just check one thing. Here we go. There we go. Happy New Year. The license for Resolve will unlock Fusion Studio standalone as well. Resolve has jumped ahead of other NLEs out there. I absolutely agree. I'm very, very, very impressed with Resolve. The suite of tools, the audio mixer and things that it has built in, Fairlight, the Fusion Studio, the Resolve color correction app, and then the NLE for $300. And it gives you free updates so far. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and wait for Final Cut Pro team to do whatever they're doing. The less the Final Cut Pro team gives us and updates, the more I'm going to be working with Resolve. Not going to stop using Final Cut Pro. That would be silly of me after using it for 20 years. And there's plenty of things that I like about it. But the less they give us as far as updates go, feature updates, the more I'm going to still go work with Resolve. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've already made my decision, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I can use both. I'm not switching. It's not what I'm saying. New iMac Pro with Apple Silicon is very much on my list. That's got to be a killer machine. Although I suspect the iMac Pro, does the iMac Pro now use Xeon chips? Does it use Intel Xeon chips? I'm not sure. The regular iMac does not. But does the iMac Pro use Xeon like the Mac Pro does? Because if it's using Xeon server chips, it's going to be a while, I think, before the silicon gets up to that level. Do you think the next iMac will have an M1 and more than 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports? It's certainly better. If you're going to do the iMac with 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, that would be, well, what am I saying? Of course, the iMac, the 2017 that I had, only had 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. It had some USB ports and it had an Ethernet port and stuff, but as far as total amount of ports, it didn't have them. So we'll see what happens. Listen, 4 minimum. For a Pro machine, or even the iMac, I used it for years because I didn't like the trash can. I didn't like it. It's just nothing. It's just the parts you can't replace. It wasn't a Pro. It wasn't the Mac Pro that I was looking for. So I never bought one. I just stuck with iMac at that point. I never got an iMac Pro, but I was the next. If they didn't have the Mac Pro that came out, the 2019 that I have, I would have gotten an iMac Pro at some point. Because it has 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and it has a 1080p camera. What camera do you use in your backyard? That is a Mevo Start. It's specifically a streaming camera. That's exactly what it's for. Where is it? Here you go. So it's a streaming camera, and I can zoom in and zoom out with an app on my iPhone. But it's specifically meant for streaming. Let me zoom in. There's a little bird there. It's meant for streaming. It does record audio, and it does also record on a card that you snap in there, but it's mainly meant for streaming. I'm connected wirelessly to that camera. I'm going through my studio door, and it's probably about 20 feet away from me. There's a bigger woodpecker. There you go. He's the king. He's the biggest bird usually we get there. He's got a long, powerful beak. A flicker? Is that what that is? I think it's a flicker of some sort. It's got speckles all over his chest. There we go. Yeah, so could there be a Resolve radio? No. I'll tell you why. My passion lies with Final Cut Pro. It's a lot of work to do these live streams. I got to prepare them. I got to do this. I got to whatever. Cameras, setups, set design. My passion was with Final Cut Pro. If Final Cut Pro, my passion is not, even if my passion was with Resolve, there's so many Resolve tutorial guys out there, so many people that are advanced. Blackmagic themselves have incredible tutorials and stuff, and I really don't see that happening. I'm not going to say never, but no, I don't see that. Final Cut Pro is plenty. Final Cut Pro Radio, the podcast, have a new one out today. A new Final Cut Pro Radio will be out today on the podcast. And then this is Final Cut Pro TV Live. These are plenty for what I'm doing right now. Let me just pull this up real quick. Just so, let me pull this up. A new Final Cut Pro Radio will be out today on the podcast. And then this is Final Cut Pro TV. So just so you know, let me pull this up. This is, I have this domain, fcptv.live. So anytime we're live, I post the video, embed the video over there. So this is Final Cut Pro TV Live. We're live on there. I've got that domain. But no, I don't anticipate doing any. Listen, I've been podcasting for 16 years starting in January. I've been podcasting for a long time. It's a lot of work. How do you get the video feed of the Mevo and Ecamm? The video feed, Ecamm, Mevo incorporated integration with Ecamm when they were in beta. So it's connected wireless. So it shows up right in Ecamm. Let me pull this up. So if you see right here, let me show if I can see this. Right here, let me see if this shows up. It's native. I can go here, recording camera. So there it is right there. There it is, Mevo, whatever the number is. So it shows right up in the camera. Camlink 4K is what my main camera is. They worked together. They worked the same way that Stream Deck. The same way that Stream Deck works with doing integration with different apps and stuff. So what do you all think about going into 2021? Is it something you're looking forward to? I mean, I guess everybody is. People talk about how bad 2020 was. It was a bad year for a lot of people. It wasn't, just keeping inside and stuff. It was a bad year, but it wasn't 100% bad. There's some good things that happened as well. I am looking forward to seeing what the Final Cut Pro team is doing in 2021 with a new update, but I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to sit here and wait to see what they're doing. I am going to be learning DaVinci Resolve, which I've already started on. My friend Tony Gallardo, I went back and forth with him about whether I should get it or not, and he said I should. He uses both. But I'll continue to use both. I mean, Final Cut Pro is my go-to editor for sure. I know it very well. I'm an Apple certified trainer for Final Cut Pro. So what do you think? Are you looking forward to 2021 as far as Final Cut Pro goes? Are you looking forward? The week-long summit was great. Eric, I have one question for you. What did you think of the Apple presentation? What did you think of the Apple presentation? So Rob Fisher says, do you know if the recordings from the summit are available? They're available if you paid to go to the summit. Yes, they're available for 90 days on the site. Not the Apple presentation. Here you go. Eric Emmerich says the Apple presentation was meh. Yeah. Yes. This is the second year that the Apple presentation was, let's just say it wasn't nearly as good as other years. It wasn't nearly as good as what Apple presented when they were at NAB in 2017 and 2018, when they released numbers, 2 million numbers and 22.5 million numbers, and had an actual presentation. These last two times at the Creative Summit, they weren't as good as those. Let's just leave it at that. I want to make sure Apple keeps calling me. So I don't want to say any more, but no, it was not very good. Jason says Apple presentation was the tease. But in prior years, it was the highlight. Okay? In prior years, it was the highlight of this Creative Summit. It was why I would go from the East Coast to the West Coast and go to these summits. I'm not going for the training. I'm a trainer myself. Final Cut Pro in 2021, only if it's a big update. If it's just some small fixes and small updates, I believe we can do our next two docs in Resolve, and I don't blame you at all. No, I don't, but I don't expect that, Jeff. I don't expect that. That's not something I'm expecting from the Final Cut Pro team. The big update has to be coming. If they just drib and drab a couple of features here and a couple of features there, it's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. Final Cut Pro 10.4, the last full point update is 3 years old, the longest of any. It was fine for what it was, but what it was is uninspiring. I agree with part of that statement. Certainly the second part. It wasn't anything. We saw all the stuff that, YouTube and stuff. We saw lots of films and videos on the Final Cut Pro update on YouTube. And I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I'm not going to. In the past, I've always said one of the main things you have to do is go to see Apple. Now, when you were in person, we go to Apple Campus. We go to One Infinite Loop and see things. But even in 2019, when we did that, we saw the presentation. They didn't release anything new. The prior years, they released new things. They released lots of new things with Final Cut, new versions of Final Cut. Final Cut Pro 10.3, Final Cut Pro 10.4. Final Cut Pro 10.3 was 2016. They released right around the summit. Final Cut Pro 10.4, 1 year later, they previewed it at the summit. It was released in December. Final Cut Pro 2018, they released Final Cut Pro 10.4.4, which was a big feature update at The Summit. 2019, zip. 2020, zip. Nothing. Here's the thing about that. Here's why I'm saying they're going to continue. They're going to give us a big feature update. They've had 4 updates out in 3.5 months. Even though 3 of them weren't anything big or not feature updates. We had 10.4.9 in August. We had 10.4.10 in September. We had 10.5 in, was it November? October, November? November. And then 10.5.1 right after that. 4 updates, 3.5 months. That's an all-time record for updating Final Cut Pro. And once again, I understand only one of those was in a feature update, but they're doing something. They're getting the nuts and bolts organized so the big feature update will be solid. That's what I'm expecting. Gerd says, yes, absolutely. Toward the summit, I guess. This was my first summit, and I loved it. So much information and talent working together. Like I heard from a friend, teamwork makes the dream work. Maybe I'm tired already, but how can I retrieve the records? I have not received an email yet. I guess I have to contact FMC. No. Log into the same place you logged in for the summit. Log into the exact same place, same username and passwords. All go to the schedule, and every place on the schedule, instead of watching live, you can now watch the presentations. They're all listed there. You're not going to see the Apple one. That was never going to be recorded. So no, you can just go to the FCP Creative Summit where you logged in. The information you had to log in to watch things live, go back to the same place, and every one of the presentations are in the same Monday at 10 o'clock, Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and just click on it and it'll play live for you. It's only good for 90 days, though, so you have about 60 days left, I think. Final Cut Pro is great for docs with Lumberjack and other transcription tools. Not sure if Resolve has that. We'll see how that works. Resolve, the one thing about Resolve and Blackmagic, they're not sitting still. They're probably working on Resolve 18 at this point, or Resolve 17.5. Yeah, Resolve 17 is still in beta, but they have 5 or 6 betas since 17 came out. So when they release the full non-beta version, that's when I'll get my license. I'm not in any hurry, but by the same token, I'm not going to sit there and just wait for Final Cut Pro team to give us some features and stuff. Simply put, Apple is falling behind the industry standards. Apple should not rely on motion VFX to push 3D and tracking. Well, I'm not going to disagree. At this point, Apple is done the least amount of innovation for the last couple of years. The least amount of all the NLEs. 10.4.9 was a feature update, right? But adding the proxy workflow is not innovating. That's something we've wanted for years and we've been requesting for years. That's not innovation. That's just doing a checklist item off of what we requested for a long time. Now, I like it. I like the workflow, proxy workflow with 10.9, absolutely. But it's not innovating. Apple hasn't innovated Final Cut Pro for quite a while. It's been years since there's been true innovation. Resolve 16 to 17 is a lot of innovative things that they've done. Rob Fisher says he found it. There you go. I remember when Blackmagic showcased the editor for Resolve at NAB, they had done leaps and bounds since what Final Cut Pro has done. I love Final Cut Pro. Just disappointed this last update didn't have more. Jeff, don't judge Final Cut Pro on 10.5. Okay? That's a marketing decision from the Final Cut Pro marketing department, not the Final Cut Pro team. I'm not sure what they would have wanted, but I know there was some discussion that they shouldn't call it 10.5. So don't judge it on 10.5 or 10.51, neither one. Lumberjack looks awesome. It certainly does. Resolve is the beta king for sure. Absolutely. They are really, really a lot of updates. I like Resolve 2. I just decided to use Resolve 17 on my latest project over Final Cut Pro 10. I am a Final Cut Pro enthusiast. Okay, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not an Apple fanboy, and I'm not a Final Cut Pro fanboy. When they'll get praise when they deserve it, and they'll get criticism when they deserve it. And the last couple years, they have not been innovative. I'm sorry, they have not. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up. That just means they haven't been innovative. Because I have faith that 10.6 is going to be a big feature update. I think they're rebuilding it. I think they're rebuilding Final Cut Pro. And I think one of the biggest things is they're reworking the way audio works. I think we're going to finally get a roles-based mixer. After all these years, we're finally going to get a roles-based mixer. Whatever the heck they're doing. I have no idea what it looks like. And I'm sure it'll be great. But I expect 10.6. I expect it the first half is, if not the first quarter of 2021. I expect it the first half of the year. 10.6. I'm calling it 10.6. Could be 10.5.2 or 10.5. Who the heck knows? As we saw with 10.5, the names really don't mean a whole lot except what they prepared us for the last couple of years. Apple has given us Silicon Macs and integration with iOS devices that opened up a whole new world for them to innovate with Final Cut Pro and the Pro apps. That being said, no excuse for lacking whatever can be applied. So the heat is on Apple now. It absolutely is. And once again, these Silicon Macs are entry-level Macs. They're entry-level Macs. They're not the Pro version of those silicon chips that I'm sure they're working on. I need more than 16 gigabytes of RAM. I don't care how it's used on the M1 chips. I know it's used differently. I need more than 16 gigabytes of RAM. What am I using right now? I'm using 32, 34, whatever, something like that. Apple should phone you now and talk about Final Cut Pro 11. Look, I already talked to them once. I'm not going to talk to them again. They'll get the answering machine. Mixer would be great. So the thing about Final Cut Pro going forward is, in 2021, yes, I expect a mixer. I expect audio roles, mixer, whatever the heck that looks like. That's not all. That's just one of the things that I'm sure is going to be happening. They have to improve the audio workflow. It's very clunky right now. Applying a compressor to a roll, you have to jump in and out of compound clips. I don't like that. I don't like compound clips. You double click on it, it takes you to a completely different timeline, has no relation to the main timeline you're on. Now, one of the other things I want to see is you expand compound clips in place in the timeline. In place in the timeline, not this jumping to a brand new timeline. You have no relationship to where you are. I'd like to see them color code clips. I was having a discussion this morning on Facebook. Why can't we drag and drop effects, transitions, generators, drag and drop and organize them right in Final Cut? Just make a folder, call it favorites, favorites 1, favorites 2, drag some effects up into it. Why can't you do that? You can do it in the browser with clips. I don't want to be going to the Finder. I don't want to be doing one at a time in motion. Do it in Final Cut. Do it right in Final Cut and make the effects browser drag and drop. Mixer would be great. Apple should phone you and talk about Final Cut Pro 11, no more 10X. It was interesting because I've heard Apple say when Final Cut Pro 10.5 came out and they dropped the X, whatever, they said, we dropped the X or the 10 or whatever you want to call it. The X or the 10 or whatever you want to call it. Just as excited for LumaFusion updates. LumaFusion is a fantastic, fantastic application. I have to spend more time with it in 2021. What do you think think the likelihood is that the iPhone 13 or iOS 15 will support ProRes RAW? Is that important? Do you think that's important that the iPhone supports ProRes RAW? I think it will at some point, maybe a light version or something, but it's really, it'll fill your iPhone up quickly. So maybe if they get USB-C ports and you can attach external storage on the device. That would help. Yeah, LumaFusion is fantastic. We've had them on many times on the show. So anyway, everyone, this is final. This is the last episode of 2020. Since this is New Year's Eve, we're going to be celebrating in 10 and a half hours. No, Jason's put up a thing about rumors update regarding new Macs. Yes, I've seen all the rumors. I don't until they come out. But Apple has said 2 years for the timeline to get to the Mac Pro. The Mac Pro Xeon is an incredible workhorse of a machine. It has 8 PCIe slots. Now, here's one of the things. Don't take the Mac Pro and dumb it down. Apple, do not take the Mac Pro and dumb it down, because you'll be making the trash can version 2 if you do that. If you make it so you can't upgrade the RAM and you can't upgrade the graphics and you can't do this and you can't do that and you only have no PCIe slots and stuff that people can use, and I have a modular power supply in this Mac Pro. I have Apple Care warranty. If the power supply goes up in here, they can send me a new one. It just pops out. It just pops out as a module. They send me a new one. I snap the new one in, send the old one back. I'm back up and working. Don't make the mistake of going towards Trash Can 2 with the Mac Pro, the Mac Apple Silicon version. I want PCI slots, and I want Thunderbolt 4, real Thunderbolt 4, not this pseudo Thunderbolt 3/USB 4. I want real Thunderbolt 4 ports. So 2021, the iMac, the redesigned iMac with the thinner bezel, that should be coming out, and the MacBook Pro, 16-inch MacBook Pro. That's probably the one that I'll first get, is the MacBook Pro. Listen, when I report from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, I like having an actual Mac. iPhone's nice, iPad's nice. I like the Macintosh. I like Mac OS better than I do iOS by a large margin. So I understand they're kind of getting here, but Apple said they're not going to merge them. We'll see what happens with that. But I like the Mac OS better. So I want a MacBook Pro. I have a 2019 15. I didn't get the 16 inch. I got the 15 that I'll trade in on a new one when they come out. We all made it to 2021. Be happy for that, if nothing else. Absolutely. Lots of great things to look for. Absolutely, Ernest. Once again, don't judge Final Cut Pro on 10.5. That was a stinker of an update. They really, if they were going to do that, they should have warned us. They should have said ahead of time, hey, we're going to release 10.5. It's not going to be the normal full point up feature update that you've expected, that we've shown you we're going to do for the last 9 years. They should have pre-warned us. Does Apple pre-warn? Does Apple tell us things in advance? Yes. Yes. They do, absolutely do. In this last year, they've shown us new versions of Final Cut Pro multiple times before they came out. WWDC, they showed us a version of Final Cut Pro that's coming out. They've said it multiple times. When they released the Silicon Macs, they had the version of Final Cut Pro 10.5, and they had that event. Yes, they do pre-announce. They just choose when not to. it's a multi-layer thing. The Final Cut Pro team may want to do one thing, and then the marketing team does something else, and then the Mac OS team does something else. Like Big Sur, for example, that could have messed some things up. I hear your thoughts on the ports. We want peripherals. Absolutely. Listen, I got 8 Thunderbolt 3 ports on my Mac Pro. 8 Thunderbolt 3 ports. I have 6 USB 3 ports, 2 Ethernet 10 ports, and what else do I have? I think that's about it right now. And they're not all filled up. I don't want them to be filled up. I don't want to have a Mac that's filled up with stuff. I want at least 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports on my 16-inch MacBook Pro in 2021 when it comes out. No birds. Where are those birds? Don't they know it's New Year's Eve? They should be celebrating. Let me get this graphics here. So once again, I did buy the DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio license with Speed Editor activation card. I have not got it yet because 17 is not out. This is a nice little graphic that I got from, let me see here. Where am I? This is just the one little graphic. This is my skyline in the morning when I go walking. This is a typical skyline this time of year. So here's one. Live from Apple Park. Yeah, we did go live from Apple Park, but you really couldn't tell. It looked like somebody's office space. It wasn't like it was anything special. It wasn't. It was very beige, let's say. Very beige. So let's do this. My friend Noah Cadner posted this. This is my setup at the Creative Summit 2 years ago. I have one camera for streaming and one camera for recording. So I recorded in 4K, 2 different mic setups, and I streamed, I think this was the opening ceremony, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not positive. I think it was, yeah. Because I didn't stream everything. I just streamed some of the things that were going on, like the opening ceremony and stuff. I streamed some of the bus trip. I streamed some of the behind the scenes. So, what else do we have? One of the neat things that Resolve does, and I was very pleasantly surprised, is Resolve. What the heck is that? Resolve has the ability to. So when I go to open a Final Cut Pro, when I go looking for media and importing it in different applications, Resolve has the ability to open a Final Cut Pro library and import media from the library. No jumping through hoops, no opened in Finder and then jumping through and all that. No. Resolve has the ability to open. I was shocked. I clicked on the library and all the media, I could import the media inside the Final Cut Pro library in Resolve. That's really cool. Saves me some steps. Something else I was talking about. Let's do this one. One of my favorite applications is Pathfinder. The reason is because you can click on this preference in the list view, treat packages as folders. When you select that on, the Final Cut Pro library gets a disclosure triangle. So you don't have to do these, once again, jumping through hoops, open show package contents or whatever, and then go to a different window and it opens up. It's right there, a disclosure triangle. Just open it up and you can get inside all the contents. I really like that. What else do I have? So some of the other things that I'm just going to name these. Some of the other applications that I really like this year and use a lot. Descript is very, very cool. Descript.com. Let's go there real quick. They are very, very cool. Very cool. Here's the thing. Where is that? Countdown. Here we go. So I got Descript because of transcription.
Like it or not, there's going to come a day when you think,
I should record this presentation.
We should do a podcast.
A pod what?
I should start a YouTube channel.
I should record my screen.
Hey guys.
Hey everyone.
And
we're pushing.
I've never actually. Oh my God.
So Descript is the reason I got Descript to begin with was because it included transcription. It would transcript videos or audio. I use transcription for editing Final Cut Pro Radio, which is going to be coming out today. I got to get it out today. And they included originally last year they didn't have any limit. They didn't say any limit. This year they have, I think, 10 hours a month they include with Descript. But Descript is much more than just transcription. Editing with text. So above it, you have text above it. And then below it, you have a timeline with your audio. You can edit the text. It edits the audio. It's fantastic for that. It also has AI that when you load a audio file, video file, the AI identifies the individual speakers for you. So it goes through and identifies the speakers, tells you to name each speaker. Then once you name each, it'll give you an example. Who is this? And you tell it. Who is this? You tell it. Who is this? You tell it. Once you do that, it goes through and color codes all the different sections each speaker speaks. It just automatically. It's pretty interesting. It also has screen recording now. It's a subscription, I don't know, $10, $8 a month, something like that. So Jeff says, I think because of COVID, Final Cut Pro had to look into true collaboration like Resolve does, maybe something with the cloud. This virus is mutating. We could be locked down for some time still. I'm not going to worry. The virus is going to have to take care of itself. I have to worry about other things. Let somebody else take care of that. We're supposed to have 20 million vaccinated, but this time, here we go. Yeah, slow and steady wins the race, right? No, I'm an innovation. I want innovation. Don't tell me that you've been working on metal for 2 years. That's ridiculous. But once again, I'm not judging Final Cut on 10.5. So I have a cough button, as you probably all know, right here. I love my physical cough button. I like it a lot. So let me do one more thing. People ask me all the time about my audio setup. Let me go over there. Let me see, web page. So let me go over there and I will choose. I'll show you. This is my interface, my audio. This is United Audio. I'm running a limiter, an old legacy limiter down here at the bottom. And this is the mixer. I'm not sure why it's blinking. But this is what I'm running through this. This has chips in it that actually runs those compressors and the mixing board in real time. I mean, it's like 2 milliseconds, 1 or 2 milliseconds. So it's virtually real. I'm talking to you. It's going through the hardware. It's going through this. And then it's going through that mixer I just showed you and going to you live, and you can't, it's live. This device has an actual chips in it to process those plugins in real time. It has its own chips. Now this one I got, the Twin X, has two of the chips, so I can run more plugins with it. But that's the reason I got this. And those plugins are by far my favorite audio unit plugins now. They're analog emulations, most of them, a lot of them legacy, and they just sound fantastic. I really, really like them. So anyway, everyone, I wanted to come on today and show you a few things that were going on, like my Resolve situation. Here is, let me just do this. So we had a snow thing that was coming up. I tuned up my snowblower. This thing's 11 horsepower. It's got a headlight on it. It's got 5 speeds. It's a Craftsman. So I did that, and we did not have much of a snow. It snowed, but it was really heavy. So here we go. This is for all you listeners, watchers. 2021, Happy New Year. I wish everybody the best for 2021. I'm expecting good things. I'm an optimist for sure. I have another podcast that I do, and one of the things that I said was this last year has really reset my expectations, my worldview on what can happen. And I said, now I'm waiting for the UFOs to be landing, but I'm still an optimist. Everything is, some things are out of your control. Of course, the pandemic's out of our control. It affected the entire world. But I think 2021 is going to be better. I certainly hope it is, as far as that goes. Jason Williams says, here in Massachusetts, we got a bit of snow and it was awesome with bright nights at Forest Park. Fantastic. I like the snow as long as I don't have to drive in it. So I haven't been able to drive in it for a while. Let's just check the birds one more time. No birds right now. I'm going to zoom back out. We have our Christmas lights up on the big picture window. But anyway, everyone, I'm going to be getting out of here. I wish everybody the best New Year possible. The best New Year possible. Some people, they concentrate on the negative. I don't do that. I acknowledge things, negative things, but I don't just worry about the negativity. And going forward, 2021 is going to be great. Hang in there for Final Cut Pro team. Hang in there. 10.6. I'm fairly certain it's going to be 10.6. Oh, they're calling back. I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to answer them. We already talked to them today. Jason Williams says, thank you, Richard. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Follow me on, YouTube, Richard Taylor TV, all the usual places. And we'll see you on the other side. We'll see you in 2021, right? I'm telling you, 10.6, Final Cut Pro 10.6 is going to be out in 2021. It's going to be a big feature update. I think that they must be reworking everything. It's got to be. It's got to be. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year to everybody around the globe. Final Cut Pro Radio is coming out today, the new version. That's the audio podcast coming out today. It's a short one, but I'm putting it out before the end of the day. Talk to everybody.